Sansui. The history of Sansui Electric begins in post-war Japan. The company was founded on the 3rd of June 1947 in Tokyo by Kosaku Kikuchi, an engineer who had previously worked for a Tokyo-based radio parts retailer. Faced with the poor quality of available components, Kikuchi set up a small production facility in the Yoyogi district of Tokyo in December 1944 to manufacture his own radio parts, concentrating on transformers. The founder's philosophy was something like this: even if it's more expensive, let's make higher quality products. The company's name, Sansui, means mountain and water in Japanese, inspired by the traditional art of black and white landscape painting, symbolizing the combination of strength and simplicity. In its early years, the company operated under various names and had several divisions with different titles. The final name was established in 1960, although it had originally been conceived back in the 1940s. In the beginning, Sansui specialized in electric radio components and sound amplification equipment for Japanese domestic use. By 1957, the enterprise had already started producing and exporting its own first high-quality amplifiers. In the mid-1950s, Sansui gradually reoriented from just parts and modules to the production of complete audio equipment. In 1954, the company began producing assembly kits and ready-made amplifiers, preamplifiers, and power amplifiers using vacuum tubes. In 1958, Sansui introduced the first stereophonic models of tube preamplifiers and power amplifiers, responding to the emerging demand for hi-fi sound. By the end of the 1950s, the company had established itself in the domestic market for quality sound equipment and was beginning to attract attention abroad, laying the foundation for future international success. In 1961, rapid growth enabled Sansui to go public. The company's shares were offered and began to be listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. During the 1960s, Sansui Electric gained a reputation for high-end audio products both in Japan and abroad. Building on the success of tube models of the late 50s, the company actively developed transistor technology. Since the middle of the decade, the metal front panels of amplifiers and receivers, a design that emphasizes the professional nature of the equipment, have become a trademark of Sansui. In 1965, one of the most famous models was introduced, the Sansui AU111 integrated tube amplifier, which later became a legend in Japanese hi-fi. Although the AU111 was originally a limited edition amplifier produced in the second half of the 1960s, it marked the pinnacle of Sansui's tube era. The company then moved on to transistor amplifiers. By the late 60s, the AU777, AU999 and other models had been released, and became popular both in Japan and abroad. The export expansion of Sansui was gaining momentum. Already in the early 1960s, the brand's products began to be supplied to the markets of the USA and Europe. In 1969, the company opened its own representative office in the United States to support the growing demand for its equipment among overseas audiophiles. At that time, Japanese hi-fi equipment became famous thanks in large part to US and international military personnel serving in Asia. Quality Sansui amplifiers and receivers were often returned home with them. By the end of the 60s, the name Sansui had become synonymous with serious audio equipment capable of competing in sound quality with recognized Western brands. Already then, Japanese designers of Sansui introduced innovative technical solutions and paid attention to the appearance of the devices, favorably distinguishing themselves by a special freshness of approach against the background of major Western concerns such as Philips or RCA. In 1967, Sansui expanded its product line with their first turntable for integration into stereo systems. The company's amplifiers and tuners from this period, both tube and early transistorized, are now considered iconic and are still in demand by vintage sound enthusiasts for their reliability and rich, powerful sound. By the turn of 1970, Sansui Electric was firmly established as one of the leading Japanese brands of audio equipment on the world market. The 1970s were the true golden age of Sansui Electric. The company was actively introducing new technologies and expanding its product range, consolidating its success on the international stage. One of the key areas of Sansui's research at the beginning of the decade was multi-channel, or quadraphonic, sound reproduction. In 1971, the company introduced the Sansui QS, quadraphonic synthesizer, system, a pioneering decoder that made it possible to produce pseudo-4-channel sound from conventional stereophonic recordings. Sansui's proprietary QS regular matrix format allowed 4 channels of sound to be recorded on standard vinyl records and played back through compatible decoders. Already in 1973, the company improved the technology by releasing the QS Vario matrix decoder with significantly increased channel separation. Competition of standards in the era of quadrophony was high. Along with Sansui QS system, there were SQ formats from CBS and Columbia and discrete CD4 from JVC and RCA. However, Sansui endeavored to make its devices as versatile as possible. Many QRX series quadraphonic receivers could play recordings in formats other than the native QS. Sansui's contribution to the development of early surround sound technology was significant, and the company is often referred to as one of the pioneers of quadraphonic audio. However, in addition to quadraphonics, Sansui continued to develop traditional stereophonic technology. In 1974, a personnel change took place. Founder Kosaku Kikuchi left the post of president and the company was taken over by Kenso Fujiwara. Under the new management, Sansui did not slow down. In the second half of the 70s appeared numerous models that became a trademark of the brand. For example, the first-generation integrated amplifiers, AU517 and AU717, went on sale around 1977. These models were highly praised for their dual-block circuitry, dual mono, and high power reserve. The AU719, AU819 and the flagship AU919 was soon followed by an updated range of new products, bringing the technical solutions to an even higher level. In parallel, Sansui produced other high-end products, such as the CA-F1 preamplifier and BA-F1 amplifier. The pinnacle of the range was the AU-X1 integrated amplifier, an extremely powerful unit that incorporated the company's latest achievements. At the same time, Sansui participated in the so-called receiver war, a battle of power among manufacturers of stereo components. The 8080dB and 9090dB models became best-sellers on the international market and were recognized as classics from the heyday of hi-fi. By the end of the decade, the company had taken performance to unprecedented heights. The massive 1978 Sansui G33000 receiver weighed almost 45 kilograms and delivered around 300 watts per channel, one of the most powerful results in the industry at the time. In 1980, at the height of its success, Sansui Electric expanded its direct presence overseas, opening subsidiaries in the UK and Germany. The company's products, from amplifiers to tape recorders and loudspeakers, were in high demand worldwide, and the Sansui brand became synonymous with high-quality sound. By the early 1980s, Sansui Electric had become one of the world's leading audio manufacturers. During this period, the company's financial performance reached its peak. According to some reports, Sansui's annual sales at the beginning of the decade approached $1 billion. In the market of high-end audio equipment, Sansui competed on equal level with such giants as Pioneer, Sony, and Marantz. The company's products were honored with the highest marks of the specialized media. Even British audio publications of the early 1980s called Sansui amplifiers the best in their class, noting their impeccable sound and reliability. In particular, the AUD Definition series, integrated amplifiers, introduced at the turn of 1981 and 1982, attracted attention for their innovative approach to distortion reduction. The junior models AUD101 and AUD33, despite their modest power output, were recognized by audiophiles in the UK for their exceptionally clear and accurate sound. They utilized a sophisticated feed-forward servo system to significantly reduce harmonic distortion. However, in the mid-1980s, the audio electronics industry underwent major changes that presented Sansui with new challenges. The advent of digital technology, compact discs and the first home theater systems changed consumers' priorities. At the same time, competitors such as Sony, Pioneer and Matsushita's Technics division went on the offensive, launching a flood of cheaper and more technologically advanced mass-market devices. While Sansui had previously dominated the high-end stereo sector, by the mid-1980s buyers were increasingly opting for integrated solutions from the big brands offering all-in-one and new digital formats. Sansui, famous for its traditional amplifiers for music lovers, found itself in a difficult position. The company had no time to reorient itself to changing market trends. The consequence of these factors was a gradual decline in Sansui's global market share in the second half of the 1980s. Sales began to decline, especially outside Japan. By 1988, the brand's presence in the United States had declined significantly. Sansui made the difficult decision to effectively withdraw from the American market, where it had once achieved great success. Instead, the company focused on a small segment of high-end audio equipment for demanding Japanese enthusiasts, trying to maintain its homeland reputation. Thus, in the early 1990s, Sansui remained one of the respected manufacturers of high-end components in Japan, although global leadership was lost. In the 1990s, Sansui Electric struggled to adapt to the new reality. Faced with falling demand for expensive stereo equipment, the company decided to diversify production. New lines of business were launched, including video equipment and televisions. However, these products were hardly ever exported, and the Sansui brand became less visible abroad. Domestically, the company remained faithful to the values of high-quality sound, continuing to produce top-of-the-range amplifiers and turntables for audiophiles in limited editions. For example, Sansui engineers developed the original Alpha X balanced amplifier circuit, which utilized the patented double-diamond differential stage structure. This technology formed the basis of the flagship models of the late 1980s. The turn of the decade saw the release of the company's last reference amplifiers, the AU Alpha 907 series, circa 1987, the unique AUX 1111 MOS Vintage Anniversary Integrated Amplifier, circa 1990, and the powerful B2105 MOS Vintage Amplifier, 1999, which weighed 37 kilograms. These limited edition units were practically Sansui's farewell song to high-end audio. Despite technical successes, Sansui's financial position became very weak in the 90s. The company had suffered heavy losses as early as the late 1980s and by the early 90s was forced to make cuts and restructure. Management underwent frequent reshuffles, and a unified long-term development strategy was never realized. While competitors were developing new niches, portable players, multi-channel AV receivers, and so on, Sansui continued to focus on traditional components, the demand for which was steadily decreasing. As a result, it became obvious that the company's independent existence was in question. The way out was partnership with large corporations. In 1999, against the backdrop of the Asian financial crisis, control over Sansui Electric was transferred to Hong Kong-based Grande Holdings, which acquired the assets of the struggling Japanese firm. The same concern had previously absorbed other well-known electronics brands, Akai, Nakamichi, and others, focusing on further licensing of their trademarks. The deal with Grande Holdings actually meant the end of the era of independent Sansui. Although legally the Japanese company continued to exist for some time, its strategy changed dramatically. From now on, the Sansui name was increasingly used by third-party manufacturers under license, and its own production was reduced. It is significant that exactly during this period the company briefly returned to its roots. In 1999, to the delight of connoisseurs, Sansui released a limited edition reissue of the legendary AU-111 tube amplifier under the name AU-111 Vintage. This nostalgic move symbolically closed the historical circle from the triumph of the tube classics of the 1960s to an attempt to revive them on the eve of the end of the company's own audio production. After that, Sansui no longer developed new amplifiers. Production of the last models for the Japanese market continued until the early 2000s, and somewhere between 2002 and 2005 the company finally phased out high-end audio production. In 2001, the main head office was closed. In fact, by the early 2000s, the Sansui name was surviving only through licensing and partnerships. Sansui Electric entered the new millennium no longer as a manufacturer, but rather as a brand with a great history. In the end, Sansui Electric officially ceased operations and was declared bankrupt. Nevertheless, the Sansui name did not disappear from the shelves. After the liquidation of the Japanese company, the rights to the brand were divided between different owners. In the Japanese domestic market, the license for the Sansui trademark was acquired by Doshisha Corporation, a large manufacturer and distributor of consumer goods. Doshisha has released a number of Sansui-branded products, mainly consumer electronics and mid-priced audio devices, appealing to nostalgia for the brand's glory days. As for the rest of the world, the rights to the brand have been transferred to Hong Kong-based Nimble Holdings, formerly Grande Holdings. Nimble has always built a business on licensing legendary names to various electronics manufacturers around the world. As a result, in the 2010s, Sansui brand was used to produce OEM equipment. A prime example is the Indian market, where the Sansui brand was used to promote consumer electronics after 2000. From the 2000s until 2018, the license for Sansui in India was held by a local company, Videocon, which sold TVs and home appliances under the brand. After Videocon's bankruptcy, the rights were transferred to a new partner. In 2019, the Indian holding company Jaina Group entered into a 5-year licensing agreement for Sansui. In other regions, products with the Sansui logo are also present in the budget segment. Today, the main source of Sansui devices is Nimble Holdings partners in China, Southeast Asia, and other countries. Thus, today's Sansui, if it exists, is more of a trade name than an engineering and design firm. Nevertheless, the memory of the real Sansui Electric lives on. Around the world, enthusiasts are carefully restoring and collecting vintage Sansui amplifiers, receivers, and loudspeakers from Sansui's heyday. Whether it's the Tube AU-111, the high-performance AU-919 or the 9090 receiver, these units serve as a reminder of the passing of time and how great the brand once was. The story of Sansui Electric is a journey from a small manufacturer of transformers to the global leader of the audio industry and its subsequent demise under the pressure of new technologies and markets. Although today the company's name and logo are all that remain, its contribution to the development of high-quality audio technology is invaluable and continues to inspire audio enthusiasts around the world. Well, the video about Sansui has come to an end. It was an interesting story. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, comment. There is a lot more to come. Stay tuned.